Should you Airbnb your property in New Jersey? It's a question I get asked a lot by property owners. Instead of renting to a long-term tenant, should I put the property on Airbnb or another short-term rental site? Well, I can speak to this as someone with experience. Prior to COVID, I had 7 Airbnbs, 6 in Hoboken and 1 in Jersey City. And right now, I actually have a property in Florida that I Airbnb as well. So I can tell you that managing a short-term rental property is a lot different than a long-term rental. Now, the first thing I must warn you with is before you even ask this question and take it a step further, you need to check local laws to make sure that short-term rentals or Airbnb is even allowed. For example, if you own a condominium, it's highly likely that in your condo bylaws, short-term rentals are prohibited. So the last thing you need is somebody coming down on you and all of your neighbors hating you because you're breaking the rules. And then, therefore, could be subject to fines from the HOA. And if you're breaking local laws, could be subject to fines and tickets from your local municipality. So first things first, check the local laws and your condo bylaws if you're a condo. Next thing you have to consider is that in order to do a short-term rental, you have to furnish and decorate your property. So upfront, there is more cost to doing a regular long-term rental where a tenant brings in their furniture. In addition, as the unit turns over and as different people stay there are supplies that will need to be refilled and replenished. Toilet paper, paper towels, linens, bed sheets, towels, perhaps coffee, olive oil, and different things that you may have in the property to appeal to different tenants, you would have to keep restocking. So the most important component of that is to have somebody that's very responsible, detail-oriented, that's going to be responsible for checking to make sure all supplies are restocked properly. In my opinion, the most important component of a short-term rental operation is the cleaning crew, because you are one bad cleaning away from a bad review and a ruined reputation from your listing. It's also the cleaning crew most times that does the replenishing of supplies, or at least indicates to you when supplies are low so you can make the orders. So having a great cleaning crew is paramount in this operation. In addition, keep in mind that tenants are coming from all over the world. A lot of times they're coming from across the world in completely different time zones, and their time of arrival to your property may not sync very well with your daily schedule. Sometimes you may have people that arrive in the middle of the night, and this has happened to me, where they come from another country, they barely speak English, and they can't figure out how to get into your lockbox to get into the unit, and it's 3 a.m. So that's something to be mindful of. You're gonna be bothered at times you may not wanna be bothered, and you're certainly gonna be bothered more frequently than you would with a regular annual tenant. So you have to weigh whether all of this is worth it for you. So on a positive note, here are some of the main positive things about being a short-term rental host. First is cash flow, of course. In this area where I am, which is in Jersey City, or any market that's very close to New York City in proximity, where you have a lot of international tourists, there is gonna be a lot of short-term rental demand. If you run a good operation, the income that you generate from hosting short-term rents is going to be higher, many cases substantially higher than regular long-term rentals. I've heard it can be as much as 2 times the amount if you rent an apartment short-term versus regular long-term monthly rental. So the reason why people get into this business is because they want to maximize the return on their investment. And short-term rentals, as long as you're in a desirable area where there's a lot of tourists coming in, short-term rentals can be the solution to maximizing the return on your investment. Also, what's really cool about it is that you do get to meet and interact with people from all over the world. So you do get exposure to different cultures, different personalities, and you could have as much or as little as interaction with those people as possible. Another positive is if you do have a short-term rental property, and let's say it's not next to your home, but it's somewhere where you yourself like to visit, you can also use that property. For example, I have one in Florida, and I use that property now several times a year with my family. The last positive I want to highlight is some of these short-term rental sites, they come with really good insurance policies. And instead of getting a month or a month and a half security deposit from your tenants like you would in a long-term rental, some of these sites have policies that could be upwards of $1 million in value. So if you do have damage to your property, as long as you can document that damage, prove it was from your tenant, you could be reimbursed in some cases better than you would from holding your own security deposit. With that being said, you just have to figure out if it's the right fit for you. If you're somebody that's going to get very hot and bothered by constant calls and contacts from people who are more needy than a regular tenant, or that may have trouble getting access to your property, or that may complain about every little thing because everybody's different, then maybe this is not the right fit for you. But if you're somebody who's really trying to generate as much cash flow as possible from your investment, and that's of paramount importance to you, then short-term rentals could be the solution for you. So hopefully in this video you learned some of the advantages and disadvantages of renting your property for the short term. So if you're considering short-term rentals and whether or not to do them, please reach out to us, your local real estate agents, and we're here to help guide you to make your decision.